My name is Elinor Scully, and I am the head of the Langley School. Welcome to our webinar entitled A Balanced Summer, Combining Fun and Learning into One. I'm joined this afternoon by Megan Rounsaville and Inga Schoenbrun, who are both resource specialists at the Langley School. Megan has a background in literacy and reading instruction, and Inga is one of our mathematics specialists. We're going to share some ideas with you today on how to strike a balance in your summer for your family. And we look forward to sharing these ideas with you throughout the presentation. One of the things that I want to mention at the outset, I'm having a little trouble advancing my screen, so just give me 1 second. Thank you. I think we're good. Hopefully you're seeing the agenda for today. We're joined today for the webinar by some families that are currently enrolled at the Langley School, but we also have some families on the line who are not familiar with Langley. So I will try to strike a balance of speaking to those who know our school community well as telling those who are unfamiliar with Langley's program a little bit about who we are. Our agenda for today is to talk about why balance matters so much in the lives of children and their families. We're going to share some tips for achieving balance, and summer is a good time, obviously, to practice some of these tips. And we're going to share 5 favorite summer activities that our resource specialists have designed that I think you'll find quite inspiring and will probably energize your household. And then we'll hopefully have time for questions and answers. The webinar is designed to last for 30 minutes, and we're going to try to be respectful of everybody's time, but we'll leave some time at the end if possible for the Q&A. So just for those of you who are unfamiliar with Langley, let me tell you a little bit about who we are. We are a preschool through 8th grade school located in McLean, Virginia. We are preschool through 8th grade by design and intention. Our mission is to serve students in their foundational years and to graduate them at the end of their 8th grade year such that they can pick a best fit high school and matriculate to either a public or private school in the area and go on to their high school years. And our focus is really on designing the best possible program for them when they are with us in childhood and early adolescence. Our student body is comprised roughly of about 50% girls and boys, so we're co-ed. We have a student-to-teacher ratio of 7 to 1. What that means is we have small class sizes, but also we have a number of specialists like the 2 that are joining me today on this webinar who provide enrichment and support for students in the classroom. 38% of the students at Langley School identify as diverse in some way. We believe that a multicultural educational environment is an excellent one. We have lots of opportunities to extend the day beyond a traditional class day through our enrichment opportunities through our Club Ed program, which is our after-school program. And our philosophy is really one that emphasizes the student-teacher relationship, particularly the partnership with parents. We believe that the best education happens when when home and school collaborate to provide students with the best possible education. So if you're interested in learning more about Langley, you can visit our website or reach out to us to find out more about who we are. I have long been passionate about the subject of balance. I've been in education my entire career, so I have over 25 years of experience in the field of education, and I really believe that particularly in Northern Virginia and particularly in this day and age, students need to have lives that reflect balance around their academic, social, emotional lives and their lives with their families. So the reason I am passionate about this is that I think without a strong sense of balance, children's identities and self-worth get tied up in their accomplishments, and they do not have a strong inner sense of who they are and what they're worth, and they measure their value by what they do. And I think that's dangerous for children, because I think what we know, research suggests that long-term health and success really depend on having a very strong, authentic sense of self and a realistic sense of what you're good at and what you're not good at, and to derive your confidence from a holistic view of who you are and not what your grades are or what soccer team you're on or how many ribbons or trophies are on the shelf. And so balance is a way that we help children dig into who they are and what signature strengths they have. I think without balance, children often retreat from the joy of learning, and that's important. If school becomes too much about acceleration and a fast-paced rush to the end of a project or a course or too grade-focused, they lose the love of learning, which is really the fuel for their entire academic and hopefully professional lives. And we don't want children to disconnect from the why of what they're doing. We also know that without balance, children are much more likely to close off new ideas, to take risks. They become afraid to fail, and as a result, they don't learn as much, and they don't discover their capabilities in the deepest sense because they're afraid of making mistakes, and we don't want that to happen. We know children who are kind of out of whack in this area limit their curiosity and their problem-solving skills and shy away from the opportunities that we think are most beneficial to their cognitive development. Children lose that creative, imaginative time because so often they are in adult-mediated activities that take them away from unstructured free play, for instance. And so that's why we're having this webinar, in part because summer really gives you an opportunity to gather that equilibrium back, to balance the scales in your lives, to make sure that children have lots of time to explore freely and creatively different parts of who they are, to get out on their bikes and run around the neighborhood and do those things that allow them to stretch their imaginative capacity. And we want to emphasize that throughout our presentation this afternoon. Balanced learning, to me, really gets us thinking about the idea that balanced learning means your child's character, conscientiousness, and intellect all grow stronger as they grow in a stepwise fashion. So why is that important? We think deeply about the fact that children need to be developing their intellectual capacities right alongside of their social and emotional capacities, that each of these parts of a child's development are mutually reinforcing and equally essential. So things like character development and developing a sense of conscientiousness and connectedness to others grow right alongside of their intellect and are equally reinforcing to one another. So that's why balance becomes a focus of what we try to accomplish at Langley, and what we hope some of the ideas we share with you this afternoon will also do for your children. So, tips for achieving balance. One of the things that I have emphasized over my career is that balance does not always equal harmony or happiness. As an adult, I have learned this, and I'm sure as parents you may have learned this, that sometimes living a balanced life requires making choices and having moments of struggle. So it's not that balance is this kind of wonderful Zen state that means everything is easy. Actually, finding balance in one's life means saying no, declining invitations, missing out sometimes on opportunities that may seem enriching because you're choosing something quieter or more personal to do versus kind of keeping up with the Joneses. I've had parents say to me many, many times in the course of my professional work, I feel like I'm depriving my child of opportunities if I don't let them try out for every team or take advantage of every enrichment opportunity, when in fact I think sometimes saying no to some of life's richness of choice actually provides balance and something that is more beneficial sometimes than the exposure to a new activity. Another tip for achieving balance involves empowering your children, not enabling them. What do I mean by this? I mean that sometimes you've got to let your children sort things out for themselves rather than doing it for them. And again, I think summer is one of those magical times where they may be in friendship groups or doing things more independently, and that is a positive thing. They can negotiate problems, they can figure out activities and the game plan for the afternoon or the day, and you don't have to do that for them. We know that children who grow in their capacity to be independent have opportunities to negotiate things for themselves, and they're not necessarily having everything done for them by an adult. So again, some of the activities that we'll share this afternoon give children an opportunity to be empowered to try things out and to test things for themselves and allow parents to recede a little bit into the backdrop. The other thing that can help in achieving balance in one's life is to help your children define success and achievement developmentally, not in terms of outcome. What do I mean by that? I think sometimes success is just part of growing up and moving from one stage of your development as a young person to the next, and it doesn't mean that you have to be the best at something or finish in first place. It just means that you accomplish something. So I think about learning to ride a bike or learning to swim or taking on a new task that doesn't necessarily mean you have to do it perfectly, but success and achievement comes from mastering a task at your own rate in your own way. And again, I think some of what we'll share today indicates possibilities for children to do that for themselves, to find some success and achieve things, but that are about their own growth and development, not being measured by the yardstick of their peer group. I think the other way you can achieve balance in your home life and for your kids is to create some boundaries and limits. Sometimes you can't do everything. Sometimes the family makes a decision that we're going on a vacation and we're going to turn off our electronics and we're going to be together. And if that means there's more squabbling in the back seat, that means that there's more squabbling in the back seat. But my best memories of growing up, particularly in the summer, had to do with hilarious family moments that were not predicted. It wasn't a glamorous trip that we took out west. It was a game that my brother and I made up in the back of the car when we were going to visit my grandmother. So again, sometimes we want to give our children so much, so many opportunities to try out different activities and different resources, but sometimes what we need to do is actually set limits. And we need to say, here's what we're going to, here's where we're going to cut certain things off and make time and privilege the final tip, which is really prioritizing family time and making moments where you do things that are pretty simple and basic and family oriented that allows you to unplug, to be together. And I really do think summer sort of hands us an opportunity. The light is in the air longer. Kids can stay up later. You can find times to disconnect from the sort of hustle and bustle of everyday life and slow down and be together as a family. So from my point of view, those are some of the things that really help someone, a young person, whether they are 5 years old or 14 years old, begin to connect with a sense of balance in themselves. But what I want to do now is give our resource experts, who are really some of the most creative minds we have at Langley, to share some ideas, some specific tangible ways you can translate my theoretical thoughts on balance into something practical that you guys can test out within your own family dynamics. So I'm going to turn it over to Inga Schoenbrun.
So the first thing we're going to talk about is geocaching, and you can see a picture of my daughter and I in the lower right-hand corner. We had just found our cache. Geocaching is like modern-day treasure hunting, and although you need to use your phone, it's not really the type of environment where you're plugging into that phone for a long time. So you download an app, and you press a button that says Find Caches Nearby, and then these little green, blue, and orange dots will show up. You can pick any of them that you'd like to go on an adventure and find it. It provides time for kids to have map reading, to think about how to use a compass, to think about distances, but the most fun part of it is when you actually get to the area where the cache is, you have to problem solve to find it. People are pretty clever about where they hide the actual caches. Some can be a very large box, like a metal box that the Army uses to hold different wares that they take with them, or some can be as small as a tiny little pill case. And you have to really look and find them. Once you open up the cache, though, there are lots of trinkets inside, a logbook where you can sign in. There happens to be a cache right here across the street from Langley in the small wooded area on the other side of Balls Hill Road. So if you'd like to get your feet wet into geocaching, it's a great place to go and start out. The fun thing about geocaching is you can do it anywhere. The picture that you see is my daughter and I in Colorado, but we recently geocached in Germany, in France. You can geocache anywhere in the United States. So when you're looking for a reason to get your child to walk a little further, or to go visit a museum nearby, or to find it a reason to go to many different neighborhoods in San Francisco or in Washington, D.C., this is one great way to get them motivated and excited, because they're going to want to find that cache. The other fun part about it, and I think this is really where the creativity comes in, create your own cache. You can find a place to hide one nearby. You can upload your cache to the geocaching site. They learn about how to put in the latitude and longitude so that they have the GPS coordinates for their cache, but they also can get really creative about what their cache looks like and how they hide it. And if you get really good at it, you can have geocaches pretty much anywhere you go on vacation. You can leave one as the mark of your family. It's an inexpensive, great way to get involved, And I'm hoping that if you want to go geocaching or you're more interested, you can always contact me. I can tell you a few right in walking distance from the Langley School. It's something so fun, and my whole family looks forward to it everywhere we go.
Hi, this is Megan Rounsaville. I'm one of the reading specialists here at the Langley School, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the upcoming Summer Olympics, which hopefully will be taking place in Rio de Janeiro in August. So to kind of spark some interest and learn some fun Olympic facts, in our resource section at the end of this presentation, you'll find a link and directions to make a paper chain to count down the 25 days leading up to the opening ceremonies. And the idea is that you build the chain out of paper and then you cut off one link a day. And if you start on around July 12th, you'll end up learning a fact a day until the opening ceremonies on August 5th. Now, if you watch the opening ceremonies with your family, this is a great time to kind of spark some inquiry. And it's a great opportunity, especially during the Parade of Nations, to share what you notice, what you wonder, what you think, and to start having those conversations with your children and to ask each other questions. And then that can kind of spark and take off for some research that you can do as a family. There's also a great opportunity to look into the historical implications and kind of wonder what happened, how did it originate, and then to compare and contrast modern versus ancient Olympics. We've also included some fun family Olympic games. One that we all thought was pretty hysterical was kind of a neighborhood Olympics, and you got all the moms together on one side of the field and all the kids together on the other side of the field, blindfold the moms, and then have the kids at the other end just yell, "Mom, Mom!" And you have to track your own child based just on what you see here. Taking it back again on that balance to another part of the Summer Olympics is, and I remember doing this as a kid, the day after the events take place, the results are always posted in the newspaper, and now they're obviously posted online. And that's a great opportunity to kind of look at results, record them, analyze them, look for patterns, look for outliers, and just, again, have those discussions as a family. If you're looking for some book recommendations that have Olympics as the theme, we can provide you a list. We also encourage you to talk to your local librarians. But just to give you a couple, for primary school students, a great A to Z book about the Olympics is called G is for Gold Medal, and it's an Olympics alphabet by Brad Herzog. For our lower school students, Mary Pope Osborne, the author of the Magic Treehouse series, has a book called Hour of the Olympics, and she also has a nonfiction companion to that called Ancient Greece and the Olympics. There's also part of the What Was series. There's the What Are the Summer Olympics by Gail Herman. And for our middle school readers, we encourage them to read The Boys in the Boat. There's an adult version along with a young reader adaptation, and there's some really great nonfiction books out there. One example is The Olympics' Strangest Moments, Extraordinary but True Stories from the History of the Olympic Games by Jeff Tibbles.
So another activity that we thought would be really fun and provide your students with a little financial information was design your own family piggy bank. So the idea is that you all get together and you get to design different types of piggy banks. But then the family actually decides, what are you going to save towards? And each student or each child in your family would get an opportunity to voice their opinion, voice their desires, and everybody's going to get their needs met over the summer. It might be dinner and bowling, it might be ice cream and a movie, or going to the amusement park. But save up the money. Take the time to think about how much would it cost us to all go out for a nice dinner and bowling. And then as they get to save up the money in their banks, they can count the money, they can see how long it takes to save up to go on one of these adventures. But the big thing is the end result, get to spend time together as a family and head out. And they feel like they had a little bit of ownership over that, picking where to go. Maybe they get the restaurant choice of their choice, or maybe they get 2 scoops of ice cream instead of the normal 1 scoop because they did a few extra chores around the house. It really helps students, though, also think about long-range planning. How do we save? Why do we save? And then you can share with them things like your mortgage, your retirement plan. These are all important things for kids to understand as they grow and think about their choices in life and some of their goals and the things that they want to achieve. So it starts out on a very small scale, but it really helps them when they get older to think about these things.
One way to help you and your family plan for the summer is to set a learning theme. Here at the Langley School at the beginning of each year, and when we return from winter break, the teachers and students sit down together and they take time to set hopes and dreams for the school year. The same can be true for the summer. You can sit down as a family and set hopes and dreams for your family, what you want to accomplish and learn from each other and from the world around us. So we encourage you to set a learning theme. To work as a family to come up with some summer goals. They can be experiences. Something that we found very helpful as school teachers and mothers is to set a schedule. Maybe on Mondays we go to museums and Tuesdays we try a new restaurant. That'll help some of the follow through and the continuity throughout your summer. You could also make a checklist or to-do list, but it's going to be helpful to have that unifying theme throughout the entire summer, and it can interest all members of your family. So one example that families have had a lot of fun with in the past and have been kind of a successful theme was the theme of libraries and visiting public libraries, not just only in our neighborhood, but if you're on vacation, you can visit the library there, track down that little public library. And once you're there, you can look for local artifacts. They usually have local authors or regional subject matter, and talk to the librarians. They're going to be a very large source of information. The local library in Cape Cod, has a huge sailboat in the middle of the library. It's just something that you're not going to see every day, and it's a great opportunity to kind of compare and contrast their local or school libraries. So if you let your child's interests guide this theme, they're going to have more ownership, and they're really going to have fuller engagement in the experiences. And varied experiences and exposure to different places and people will really help close that experiential gap, which can make a difference in all areas of your child's school curriculum, from connections that they'll make in social studies to deeper comprehension in reading because of a strong background knowledge and schema.
And our last activity is in honor of the 100th birthday of our national parks. The Junior Ranger program is a program that's supported by almost all of the national parks across the United States. Basically, you show up at the ranger station and they provide you with activities that are based on age level. They'll have different age levels for the young ones who are in pre-K all the way up to 13, 14, 15-year-olds. The guidebooks give you different activities that you can do throughout the park. Things can be just as simple as taking a walk and noticing what flowers or leaves or the sounds that you're hearing, up to a park ranger doing an evening fire pit with all kinds of stories from the region. My daughter and I have participated in many of these activities. We've done everything from the Whaling Museum to the Rocky Mountain National Park. At the end of completing all of their activities, they learn things about nature sustainability, map reading, how to keep a healthy lifestyle, ecosystems, and just the joy of exploration. I think it's so important that we live in such an urban area that kids have that opportunity to go out and be surrounded by nature and have that opportunity to see what it's like to go not only to a park in their local area, but parks all across the region. When they're done, they go back, they have a little discussion with the ranger, and they earn a patch that they can keep, or they earn a badge that comes with it. There's nothing that you need to join. It's really more for just the pure experiential activity. One thing that we loved at Arches National Park as a family was they asked us to take pictures of different types of rocks. And I have a geeky husband who loves nothing more than to talk about sedimentary rocks with his child. And this was just such a wonderful opportunity. She took probably 100 different pictures. But the conversation she had with the ranger at the end was what really just lit it up for my husband and I. For her to see a ranger who is so passionate about his job, and for her to experience people like that who really, really have a passion for what they do, I think it can only teach her to find something that she has a passion for. We hope that all the activities that we've shown you are just a spark onto other ideas that you might have, and we hope that you get a chance to do many of them.
So we're putting up a resource page for you, and we hope that this is just, again, going to extend the terrific ideas that Inga and Megan have shared. On the far side of the slide, these are resources that are internal to Langley, so depending on your grade level, these will be things that you'll be familiar with that we're sharing with our families as they head into summer. But I think you get the gist based on what we've shared today. We really believe that balanced learning is the key for helping a child's intellectual development grow in proportion to the other skills around social and emotional life that we think are so essential. And we see the summer as a perfect time to experiment and play with some of these ideas and to do them in an out-of-the-box kind of way. We know that during the school year, you're rushing from activity to activity and you're packing lunches and getting in carpools and racing through the day. We see summer as that time to just play with some unique opportunities for your family. And Inga and Megan have shared some remarkable ones. I think it gives you a sense of the sky's the limit. So before we take some questions, I'll just say in closing, we hope you'll stay in touch with us. If you're new to Langley, there are a couple of resources you might want to know about. We run a summer camp program here called our Summer Studio that has tons and tons of structured camp activities that have the look and feel of what Inga and Megan described. So there's really something for everyone. There are academic-oriented kinds of things, but there are lots and lots of really neat hands-on learning opportunities for kids in the summer. You can follow us on Facebook to learn about other activities and initiatives that are underway at Langley, and you can certainly call us to be in touch with the main office. Inga and Megan are remarkable resources, and I'm sure they'd be happy to be in touch with you if you had other questions or follow-up. But at this point, we will probably, since we have just about 5 minutes left, open it up to see if folks have questions. And the way this works is we ask for folks to sort of type in a question. We've already received one. But we're also going to take a look and see if others are offering questions, and there's no pressure here, but we will try to answer as many as we can. So the first question is, where will you post the wonderful resource page? Our child will start Langley in the fall. Well, terrific. We're excited to have you join us in the fall. The resource page will be emailed to the participants. So if you signed on for this webinar, we have your email address. And what we can do is email you the resource page so that you have that information. And the session is also being recorded, and so you'll be able to get that as well. And so if you have a spouse or partner who wants to listen to it, we definitely think that we want you to have access to that. Another question has come in. Do you have any thoughts on how to link my child to grandparents and living in other areas with any of these great ideas? And I think that's a terrific idea. I'm going to ask our resource people to chime in with that one, because I think there's some their faces are expressing some ideas with regard to that. So Megan, what do you think?
One great opportunity on the reading front is to Skype or FaceTime read-alouds between grandparents and grandchildren, and to have the grandchildren read to the grandparents. The other thing that you can do with some of your older children, if you want to link them to grandparents, is to start a book club, to have to have the grandchild and the grandparent read the same text and then discuss it either in person or by writing letters.
Awesome. You know, one of the things that has always captured my imagination is this idea of StoryCorps that NPR does. And I was thinking, you know, I wish so much that had been around when I was growing up, because I have all these sort of anecdotal memories of interviewing my grandmother, and I have some of her recipes, in fact, that I've scrawled down on pieces of construction paper. But I think if I had known about the StoryCorps concept, I would have probably interviewed my grandmother and gone about it in a more formal way. And I know as an adult I would treasure having those memories of her. Okay, so, a great question. So someone has written, how do you balance this recommendation, this balance recommendation with the rigorous standards that kids have to live up to? Is this like adding pureed beets to brownies? What a phenomenal metaphor. So hooray, I love that. And I love beets in my brownies too. So, you know, and I will let the resource people speak to this as well, I firmly believed, based on the research that I've read, that anxiety and pressure can be inhibitive to learning. So this idea that kids who are sort of fed on a diet of go, 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 everything counts, push, push hard, accelerate, accelerate, I actually think that stymies some of their learning. So I think this idea of creating these spaces where they can be more creative, less pressured, take intellectual risks, go for a badge in a national park where they're using their math skills, their science skills, their interpretive skills, their inquiry skills, will actually make them better students. So it is like putting beets in the brownies in a way, because giving them that intellectual freedom actually allows them to go deeper and to be more sophisticated in their thinking. So I would certainly echo that.
I think some of the experience that we talked about, the thing like creating the piggy bank and saving the money, so often now our kids don't see physical money. They just don't. We pay for everything with credit card. We rarely even hear the total of our prices when we go. So I think that these opportunities, although they might not be presented to the children as explicit instruction, actually are instructing them in ways and opportunities where they're ingesting this information, they're learning it, and then when they come to school, they're able to have all that foundational piece to then push it further when people are asking them for the next challenge and the next level up. I also think that a lot of the experiences like the national park, they set up the questions in a way where there isn't one right or wrong answer. So the kids, again, are learning how to think and how to experience. And I think as a parent, we can't always create those opportunities, but what we can do is use what other people have created to then interact and enjoy those moments with our kids and really hear how are they thinking, what are they interested in, and then we know to go to the library and pick up a book about minerals or to go and cook a meal from another country and get more interested in that. It's really those experiences that we give them that help them with the higher level thinking.
So well said. Well, we are coming to the end of our time together. I want to thank everybody for being on the line. We learn as much in these conversations as you do. We got one question here at the end that we didn't get to, but we'll send a response to that participant because I want to honor everybody's time and know that you're probably fitting this in your lunch hour. I definitely want to thank Inga and Megan. I hope you, as I do, have just a sense of what wonderful educators are, how much they bring to Langley. We're so lucky to have them here. And I hope that you get some nuggets today that you can take away from this webinar that will at least spark some thinking and some conversation in your household. We wish you a wonderful, happy summer. It's going to be here before we know it, and certainly look forward to welcoming everyone back to Langley in the fall. Thanks so much for participating, and have a wonderful summer.